Thank you for subscribing to Sheila Lives Out Loud. We're sharing some of our best lessons from the show as we count down to a new season. Here's my motivate. Let's live out loud with Johnson Riungu next.
Johnson is a second generation Kenyan. I married with one wife. Yeah, we have one daughter, and we live each day at a time. My wife is also visually impaired. I was born in a family of four, two brothers and one sister. And by the age of 5 years old, this is a story that I was being told by my mother, that she used to see some shiny things in my eyes. And thus she took me to the hospital, and the doctors diagnosed it as cataract, so they operated on it. So my sight came back, and I had to use glasses, but that stayed up to when I was about 9 years old. And then all of a sudden, one night I just slept and my eyes started aching. And by the time it reached morning, one of my eyes was completely blind. So when I went to Kikuyu Hospital, they just pronounced that the eye is gone completely. So I was left with one eye when I was 9. So before that 1 year ended, the other eye started bringing issues. Again, cataract. It was operated on. And then after 3 months, it just started behaving in the same way, just like the other one, but it didn't go off immediately. So I stayed for some time. And that was when I couldn't now print on the blackboard in school. And even the exercise book, I could not follow the lines, the ruled lines in exercise book. And this is when I was in denial myself. So my teacher told my parents, and they kept me home, and they took me to the hospital again. And now it was retinal detachment. Okay, so that time there were no specialists in the country to treat that. So after some time, it just kept on deteriorating until it went off completely. When I went to join the special school, I had to be taken back to the previous level. So, because I was supposed to be going to class 4, I had to be taken back to class 2. Now, it's not that I was performing poorly in school, because I used to be one of the top students in my class. Now, the problem is I have to go back to class 2, and I was supposed to be going to class 4. That affected me a lot, and I was telling them, no, I just can learn Braille as I continue with the level that I was in. Another thing I think I'll shock you with, I learned Braille in 2 weeks.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
But that's just the determination that you had.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
So in 2 weeks, I learned Braille. And I can assure you, by the time we were finishing the first term, I was number 2 in my class.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so here I am, I'm learning Braille. Of course, this is everything that I was learning was just a repeat, because I had passed that level. Well, a few still things that I was to learn, but at least I could read in Braille, I could write in Braille, and that was all I needed to convince my teacher that I need to go to the level that I was in. I had this dream when I was young. My elder brother, firstborn, we used to sit and talk about physics and chemistry. And when I was that young and I still had my sight, I used to think I'd like to be a scientist when I grow up. And we had this idea that we will one day go to the moon.
Oh, wow. It still happened. Hey.
Yeah, so my brother kept pushing me on. I went through primary special school, high school special school. I have to join college, and there's no special college.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, so this is a mainstream college, Kenyatta University, and I had to learn with everyone, all right? So regardless of whether they have a disability or not. Now, my adjustment at that point, because all my lecturers didn't know how to read Braille. Now, how am I going to communicate to them? Okay, so they gave me a solution and tell me that, no, you can use a typewriter. See, even if I use a typewriter, I cannot read back and see what I've done. Okay, so if I make a mistake, then I cannot work on that mistake. So at that point, during my second year, I met these guys from Site Savers International. They came with, they said they have talking computer, and I was so impressed by that. So I said, we want to train you for 2 weeks on how to use a computer. And then this computer, we fit it with the software that will talk back to you. So I said, great, let me just sit down and see. So we are a bunch of guys who are visually impaired who now were going through that fast technology training. So we went through the computer training course with the talking computer. I was so fascinated. I remember I used to sleep around 1 a.m. in the morning and then wake up at 5 just to go through the computer, see what it can be able to do. Right. So by the end of the 2 weeks, I got so good at it that I won a scholarship to the UK.
Wow.
To go and do a much advanced training on that. And I got my first job with the Kenya Union of the Blind under Site Savers. And my work was to trainer of trainers. So it's like I'm training teachers who will train persons with visual impairment. I started there. I worked with them for 2 years. But during the 2 years, I also got now more trainings out of the country on assistive technology, basically generally, not computers per se.
You started by telling us that your wife is also visually impaired.
Yes.
And you have a daughter. Is she visually challenged as well?
No, she's not.
What's that dynamic like in the house?
Before we got into this, our relationship, we put up a checklist just to find out what we are able to do and what we are not able to do. And as we are going through crossing out, we realized it's only being able to see. But we could go to the kitchen, cook, we could wash our own clothes. The level of independence was so high that it outweighed the other disadvantages. So the other question was, if we had a child, then how are we going to raise that child? And we said, so I think what we're going to do is get a house help who would help us in 1, 2, 3 things that we think that we need help. So so we went ahead, we got our first child, and we didn't get our house help because at least for the next 6 months, we stayed with the sister-in-law and for 6 months, and we basically started bonding. But the child, I think, started noticing that she has visually impaired parents when she was about 1 year old. Because I remember, my wife, is not that she's totally blind, but when it's at night, she cannot see. During the day, she can be able to see. So my daughter used to come and look at me, and she was noticing that I was not looking at her back. So she kind of noticed that there's something wrong somewhere. So, and then my wife used to tell me, our daughter is looking at you so much, like, okay, what could be the reason? So maybe because you are not looking back at her. It's like she needs you to communicate and you cannot do that.
You can't,
Okay, so I used to feel bad why I cannot connect to her.
Like, yes.
But I said, now I need, if I've come all this far.
Now is not when you give up.
Yes. So I kind of started being so friendly with her in terms of, we used to play a lot. I used to spend a lot of time with her. So she kind of got used to me a lot, because that time, the whole of that time I was working, my wife was just in the house. So she bonded with the mother a lot than me. But after she was 1 year, then I left work. I decided to just do consultancy.
Yeah. If you could get your sight back, the 2 final questions I'd like to ask. The one thing you remember seeing and you know you'll never forget that image, what would that be?
That's a tricky one.
That's a tricky one because there are many things you remember, of course.
Yes.
Okay, your top 3 things that you remember.
The ocean. When I get down at some point, I usually take my focus back to that last picture I have of the ocean, and I feel peace in my heart. The other one would be my mother, so dear, I remember her face to date. And the last thing, very funny, is Tom and Jerry.
Really? We all went through the Tom and Jerry experience, so I can see why that would be something that you can remember with a lot of fondness.
Absolutely.
But now the last question is a hard one. The one thing you'd like to see, if you could ever see again.
Oh, my daughter.
Oh. That was a no-brainer. You didn't even have to think twice about it.
One thing I tell people, it's good to pass through all the phases. Okay, so first of all, you acquire the impairment, and then you have to go that phase of denial, and then find yourself, and then come back. If you jump one of those stages, like what I have seen practically happening, is that you never move on.